Quick review. This is video 2. Here's your basic graph. Basic graph with basic graph with price and quantity. Basic demand curve. You should understand what's going on at this point. Basic supply curve. And back to the world of demand. The law of demand is the result of patterns of behavior that overlap. So this is why you have this inverse relationship. One is the substitution effect. Changes in quantity demanded because of a shift in relative prices. And then there's the income effect. Changes in quantity demanded because of a change in a price that alters consumers' income. You buy more when stuff appears cheaper. So basically, the substitution effect is dealing with the fact that if one thing becomes expensive, you might substitute something else in, and then when prices go up or down, you're going to feel like you're either richer or poorer because of these prices. Here's an example. Let's pretend like the cafeteria has food that you actually want and eat. They've got pizza that is exactly like Sbarro's, if you know what that is, and they've got tacos just like Taco Bell. For $1, you can get 3 tacos, or for the $1, you can get a slice of pizza. There is this assumption we always deal with that you like these things equally, and probably most Americans prefer pizza over tacos. I'm more of a taco guy. But basically, a cafeteria would figure out how much pizza and how many tacos they should make every day. People would go down there. Some kids would eat pizza all the time. Some would eat tacos all the time. Some would alternate it. But market would be equilibrium. They'd have about the, you're never going to have perfection. You can't get rid of shortages and surpluses completely. It's the big ones you're looking for, long-term ones that happen over and over again. You can always have a day where you're running a convenience store and everyone comes in and buys Snickers and you run out. And if it was a one-day thing, you don't probably want to change the amount of Snickers you're buying for your store. But if it happens week after week, you've got a problem. You need to adjust your supply and probably give up something else to bring it in there. Is that starting to ring a bell with you on some of the stuff we did like that? But anyway, if the cafeteria is selling these pizzas and these tacos for this price, and you come in one day and the price of pizza has gone up, as a result of the price of pizza going up, there will be a decrease in demand for pizza and an increase in demand for tacos, because the tacos will be the same price, therefore cheaper. The pizza is more. You want more of something when prices kind of stay the same or on sale. When prices go up, it's going to decrease your demand. If they lowered the price of pizza, you may have been wanting tacos that day, but you're going to maybe switch over to pizza. There'll be an increase in demand for pizza because of the lower price, and the tacos are going to go to the wayside. It's just substituting stuff in. There is a law that comes into play with this called the law of diminishing marginal utility. Basically, it's the more you consume of something, the less satisfaction you're going to have. Every year, Starbucks comes out with pumpkin spice lattes, and you get that first one for the season. It's the most awesome thing in the world or whatever. Then you get the next one. It's pretty good, the third one. But if you had one every single day, you'd get sick of them. And that's kind of what the law of diminishing marginal utility is dealing with. And change in quantity demanded. There's two things you've got to understand. There's a change in demand versus a change in quantity demanded. You've got to know the difference between this, and it also applies to supply. A demand curve is only accurate as long as there's no changes other than price that could affect a consumer decision. Assumption of ceteris paribus, all things being held constant, is true, only taking prices into account. When only prices change, we move along the curve. Here's what we're looking at here. You've got to recognize this. A change in quantity demanded, A, versus a change in demand, B. When you have a change in quantity demanded, a price is changing and you're moving on the demand curve. You're moving on the curve. For whatever reason, the price went from $8 to $6. You see a decrease in price, and that's going to throw things out of kilter. But right now, we're just going to focus on it's a change in price only. You're moving on a curve. When you have a change in demand, ceteris paribus is dropped. Things are not being held constant. Something has completely changed, and it's causing the shifts of these curves. And there's going to be lots of videos and information on what's going on with this, so don't panic if you're not getting this 100% yet. But change in quantity demand is a change in price only. You're staying on the curve, moving up and down, change in demand. It's a complete shifting of a curve to a left or a right, like we saw a little while ago when we were just kind of demoing that and getting started. If ceteris paribus is dropped, you're going to have these curves moving, is basically what all this is talking about right here. So I'm going to move on. And there's that video, there's that slide again, sorry. And what causes these? There's 5 things that causes these shifts. We're going to find out it's pretty much always the government's fault when you have price changes that ignore what markets want, ignore equilibrium when you're moving up and down on a curve. or along a curve rather. When you have these shifts, it's these things: change in taste or preference, number of consumers, price of related goods, changes in income, expectations about the future. You need to watch this AC/DC video, watch it as many times as possible. There's also a supply one that's going to be very similar. This is a part one. Pause this, go watch this, watch it a couple of times because he goes even faster than I do through it, and then come back to this after you've done so. All right, changes in income shift demand curves. A consumer's income changes demand based on the goods we buy, and we got to discuss that there's two kinds of goods we got to deal with. Normal goods. Normal goods are the goods that consumers are going to demand more of as their income increases. Most goods are normal goods. And most goods, you know, if they go on sale, you want more of them. All that kind of stuff. Most things we're going to deal with as normal goods, but there's these things out there called inferior goods. And they really can't ask you a question about an inferior good without giving away that they're talking about it. They're going to have to declare it an inferior good probably in the question. But it's the one that breaks the rules. It's the one that consumers will demand less of as income increases. You have money, you don't want it anymore. I got a really dumb example: used underwear. Would you really wear used underwear with holes, you know, and stained and all that kind of stuff? Do you really want used underwear? So let's declare used underwear an inferior good. If people are buying used underwear, they're probably poor, there's a downturn in the economy, there's something going on. But if they get a job and they start making money and they have money, they're not going to buy used underwear, an inferior good. They're going to buy a normal good, new underwear. Hopefully this makes sense to you. Ask me questions in class if you got problems. Changes in taste or preference. There's no accounting for taste. This is always kind of a weird one. Advertising, social trends, influences such as TV and radio culture, that kind of stuff will impact demand. Tommy Hilfiger and Ditch sell high fashion Fufu brand clothing. They initially put it out there, they did market research, they got that product out there, and then market's in equilibrium. They get it out there, they figured it out, they're selling it at a price point where people are willing to buy it, they get satisfaction, they're making a profit, there's no big shortages or surpluses of it. So here's your market in equilibrium for Fufu clothes. But they launch a very popular ad campaign, and around the same time, for whatever reason, various rock stars like Half Dollar and stuff start wearing Fufu brand in videos. And so why it happens, it just does, and it becomes an it brand. Everybody wants it, everybody's talking about it. It's the thing, you got to have it. It's Fufu. So you have an increase in demand because of this change in taste. So you got price and quantity. We got our demand curve. We're going to call it D1. The one's kind of messed up on this. It's supposed to be a 1 right here next to it. And then we have an increase in demand. And sometimes you're asked to just show increases in demand, increases in supply, decreases in either one without equilibrium. Sometimes you just move demand curves. Sometimes you're supposed to put equilibrium on there. But in this case, we're just going to show the increase in demand because Fufu is an it item. People want it. And supply and demand, if we had that market equilibrium, there's our happy spot. The exact same thing, if you were asked to draw it with equilibrium, you'd simply just do it this way, D1 to D2 with the arrow clearly showing it. But we've marked our equilibrium points. We had our original quantity and price equilibriums marked as 1, and the new ones after the fact, when this it item thing kicks in, is marked as 2. And here's the thing that's interesting about this. We see because of this popularity, prices are going to go up and quantities are going to go up. So this is something you need to be aware of and look at, and always be able to register when when you look at these graphs. We saw the shift in demand, an increase in demand, and because this is popular and people want it, the prices creep up and the amounts creep up of it being out there. Let's see what we got on the next one. Okay, after 6 months, the market becomes saturated and people are getting tired of Fufu, and now they want Boo-Bar's Eagle Gap brand. Suddenly, Fufu brand sales decrease. There's a little extra dot on here. Oh well, I ain't gonna fix it. People want Boo and no longer want Foo. Let's look what happens to Fufu in this situation. Fufu. There's a decrease in demand. I went through it really quick. I hit it, but basically we see that there is a decrease in demand, so it shifted to the left, D1 to D2. And we have our new equilibrium point. Here's our original equilibrium points. We put as QE1 and PE1. And now we have our new ones here, and we see that the prices went down and the quantities demanded went down. So there's going to be less of this out there, and the prices are going to go down because people are not as excited about this anymore. I'm going to stop with the baby boomers, and I'll catch you in the next video.